are still on the road, the R2 system that would deduct points from your license could soon come into effect if the Transport Ministry has its way. The Constitutional Court has overturned a High Court ruling that this would be unconstitutional. The organization Undoing Tax Abuse had brought the original legal process to the High Court. Let's speak now to Stephanie Fick, the Executive Director of OUTA. Stephanie, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. So the demerit system, effectively something that has been quite contentious for some time in terms of how exactly it would work. Let's talk about the impact then of this latest court ruling.
Good evening, Kathy. Yeah, we are obviously disappointed, but we respect the judgment of the ConCourt. But now it's the next battle. And, what practical implications this will have on motorists. Now, although legislation can be constitutional, it doesn't mean that it's practical. R2 has got so much red tape and there's so much potential for corruption that we are really worried that R2 will not work under the current circumstances. But the impact it will have on motorists, I think Joburg and Pretoria already know about R2, but R2 now needs to be rolled out nationwide. Smaller places will have to get used to how R2 works, etc. So that will take a while. It will really be over a period of time. It will not happen overnight. And the demerit point system, in our view, will probably only implement it once this whole system is in place, it is working, and it can be implemented. Remember, in 1998, the original R2 legislation was rolled out only in Joburg and Tshwane, and up to today, the demerit point system that was part of that legislation has never been enacted. So it's not going to happen overnight. It will be a process.
Let's talk about some of the issues of contention around R2. This issue around notices has been a contentious one for about as long as I can remember, Stephanie. There's been a big back and forth around how motorists are notified of their infringements, what is the process that needs to be followed for that infringement notice to actually be something that can be credible legally. I remember the late Howard Dambowski being one of the people who was, championing that fight. Do you think that administratively that issue has been dealt with enough, at least, to not leave questions around whether, when motorists are penalized, the notices that would have had to go out are going out in a way that we can say is just and fair?
I don't think we've dealt with that problem. Now, the original R2 that was enacted in Pretoria and Tshwane, I think people will remember, motorists will remember that RTI ran out of money in order to serve, I do apologize, infringement notices via registered boat quite early in the process. So whether they will be able to do that now is still, questionable. But then also the ConCourt has said by letting people know via email and social media, etc., is not unconstitutional. So we will need to watch out for those messages from RTIA if something happens. It's difficult to explain this because I can say that you'll get a notice, for example, your car, and allegedly you are the owner, but because all of this is dealt with on a basis of notice that's not quite up to date, you have to accept that it's possible you will be served a notice, served in the sense that you will get an SMS or an email that lands up in your spam folder and you'll never know, and then you'll get an enforcement order for a crime you never committed. So although as a principle, electronic communication is not bad, it's just, is it practical for R2 if you run the risk of getting an enforcement order and then you can't renew your licenses? And we say no.
The difficulty, of course, is also being able to verify people's latest contacts, right? a verification process, I imagine, would have to be done for all motorists if, in fact, you know, sending an email, sending a text message, maybe even a WhatsApp message, if that's going to be an admissible way of contact.
That's also a problem because, you know, one hears the problems that exist and updating notice. In other words, I've heard horror stories of people that's trying to change their addresses on the system, and they do it every year. But every year, you know, some of the mails, you know, the physical mails still go to an old address. So what more can you do? I have to say, it is unfortunately your duty to make sure that your information on the system is correct. The problem appears that although you are going out of your way, let's say you are a law-abiding citizen, you go out of your way to try and update your information, you do run the risk that if the administration is not up to date, or, you know, someone is just lazy and do not do it, or whatever the case may be, that you run the risk of some serious complications because you just didn't receive an incorrect infringement notice for a car that doesn't belong to you, to address you no longer stay at, and then you are faced with, you know, an enforcement order, you can't renew your license.
All right. I suppose the point is, now, of course, the Transport Department has the green light to roll out on a national scale.
Yes, of course. And we, you know, you can't fight with the fact that although we wouldn't have started this fight if we didn't believe in our argument, but the ConCourt disagreed with us, and that's the beauty of our system, and we will accept it. But R2 is supposed to improve road safety and reduce fatalities. And unfortunately, we are of the view that it hasn't done that. You know, if you think about the amount of road deaths and road fatalities we had since 1998, and that there's just no let down. I mean, it just go up, it doesn't go down. To what extent can we say that R2 has been successful? We do believe that education is needed. One needs to get people to abide by, you know, laws, and specifically in this instance, traffic laws. But will you be able to create that civil obedience with an act that does not have the buy-in from motorists? I strongly believe, because of the red tape and just it's a very, you know, it's cumbersome process. Will you have the buy-in from people? And then a process that will, you know, hardly create better road safety. Yeah, I think we are in for a long road ahead of us. And it's all about, can government not just listen to the problems and adhere to the requests from civil society, businesses, etc., and just improve legislation that will increase road safety and reduce fatalities.
All right, Stephanie Fick, the Executive Director of ALTA, we'll leave it there for today.